You are Locked On Sun Devils, your daily podcast on the Arizona State Sun Devils. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back. This is the Locked On Sun Devils podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Richie Bradshaw. I will be your guide for everything Arizona State Sun Devils. We have a very intriguing conversation today on this Locked On Sun Devils live on YouTube. So don't worry, we'll be interactive, and I will be answering comments as you guys leave your comments. Let's talk about Jaden Rashada. What an interesting situation this is. And I mean, take it with a grain of salt, and honestly, even less than a grain of salt right now when it comes to this Jaden Rashada stuff, because going to a hockey game, like at the end of the day, that's not like the biggest thing in the whole world, but it is really noteworthy that a guy who just spent a semester at Georgia, the University of Georgia in Athens, is all the way back to the other side of the country and visiting a school that he originally had not signed up for. What's the word? Enrolled in. And like such a complicated path that he's had through his recruiting too. I mean, he will now be with four different programs since he has committed coming out of high school. He had committed to Miami. He then flipped his commitment to Florida and then signed his letter of intent. And then he got out of his letter of intent and came to Arizona State. He played a year at Arizona State. He appeared in 3 games because otherwise he was injured. Transfers from Arizona State and goes to Georgia for a year, sits the whole season, and now he's back in the transfer portal. It's odd, the way that this has gone so far. And no casting judgment here, because I truly don't know what is going on behind the scenes. I don't know if this is something to do with academics, or if it is with NIL, or it is playing time, or just finding a place that you're comfortable with. I don't have any idea what is going on with Jaden Rashada and the decisions that are going into entering the transfer portal twice in 2 years and then committing to 3 different programs as a incoming recruit. And he's a former 5-star kid, and he's obviously gone down. I haven't looked at his latest transfer profile. I would assume he got knocked down to a 3-star, but I actually have no idea. We're going to go to our friends over at 24/7. That's my preferred recruiting place. Let's see. Entering the transfer portal. He does not have a ranking currently as a transfer. I know when he transferred from Arizona State, he was still a 4-star. When he went to Georgia, I just imagine that only playing three games in 2 seasons at 2 different programs, I don't know if they'll continue to make him a 4-star transfer, but that's why I don't make those decisions, and that's why I'm not someone who is super in touch when it comes to that stuff. I'm able to navigate it and whatnot, but I don't make the decisions and everything. So I don't know what that's going to look like. And obviously that's like neither here nor there. That's such a minuscule thing at the end of the day. But what a weird start to his collegiate career, if you would, that he's had. And if he returns to Arizona State, I mean, what does that look like for him? I just don't know. And I'm curious what you guys think. If you're here in the live, thank you so much for joining. Leave a comment and let me know what you guys think. The best part about these lives is answering the comments and having conversations with all of you. So leave a comment and let's have a conversation. This is such an intriguing situation that Jaden Rashada has found himself in. Coming out of, I think it was Pittsburgh, California. I have it here. Yep, Pittsburgh, California. 6'4", 190 was when he entered the transfer portal last year. I can't imagine too much has changed. Maybe he added a few more pounds to his frame, but just weird, man. Like really, really weird. And with so much conversation that's now coming up about the transfer portal and the NIL, and Jaden Rashada is the poster boy for NIL at this point in time, whether he likes it or not, whether you like it or not, he's the poster boy for it because so much of everything that has happened in his collegiate journey to this point in time has been driven by NIL. That's why he committed to Florida after committing to Miami, was the boosters offered him millions of dollars. And then he flips, or not even flips, he just gets out of his letter of intent with Florida and comes to Arizona State because Florida, it turns out, was not going to be able to back up the offer that the boosters gave him to stay at that program. So he comes to Arizona State, and Kenny Dillingham tells him, hey, man, if you're here for NIL, this is not the place to be. Jaden Rashada says, that's okay. I want to prove myself. He's able to play in 3 games for ASU. I thought he was fine. I thought he looked like a true freshman. There were some really awesome plays from him, and there was some plays where you're like, yep, he's going to have to learn from that. It wasn't anything horrible, and I was looking forward to the future of the Jaden Rashada era at Arizona State, and unfortunately, it was only meant to be for one season because Sam Leavitt, who now is the future for the Sun Devils, comes in last year around this time. It might have, you know what? I think it was about a month ago for the anniversary, something like that. And he comes to Arizona State. He beats Jaden Rashada out after Rashada had said, yeah, bring in a guy. I'm here to compete. I'm not going anywhere. Enters the portal, goes to Georgia. And we start having these questions of like, well, why are you going to Georgia when Carson Beck is there? Like, if you wanted to play immediately, that's not the place to go. And then when Beck got injured, Gunnar Stockton was the backup. Like, Rashada didn't even see the field this year when Beck was injured. So now he's in the portal again. And I don't know what he's looking for. At this point in time, are you looking to play and have significant playing time? Are you looking for NIL opportunities? At this point, maybe you're all in on your education. Maybe you just want to find someplace you're comfortable. I don't really know. I don't know what's going on in Jaden's head that has led to this many different decisions. What I do know is until further notice, we're going to assume it's NIL related. And I don't think that anyone can blame us for assuming that it is NIL related and NIL driven for where we've gotten to at this point in time with Jaden Rashada. Bringing this back to Arizona State, though, it's intriguing. One, would ASU even be interested in bringing him back? Because there's a few things that ASU needs to answer when it comes to this Jaden Rashada situation. The first and biggest is, would you want him back? Knowing that he had committed to your program and he was your first big commit for Kenny Dillingham, and he was one of the biggest commits that the Sun Devils have had in the last 20 to 25 years. And he lasted 1 year with you before leaving when he was beat out in camp, because he had said he was coming back. He said he was going to compete, but when he got beat out, he left. So do you want someone like that back who quit when he was getting beat out in camp? I don't know if that's the image that I want on my team. Jeff Sims is back for ASU. You can think of him whatever you will, but I mean, that's another guy who had every intention on being a starter when he transferred to Arizona State over the summer. He got beat out, and he's still here, and he had his opportunity to start against Cincinnati. Like, he has worked really hard to have the position that he currently has with Arizona State as their backup quarterback. So ASU kind of already has that figured out. Then you've got Michael Tollefson, who's coming in as your 3-star backup quarterback. You've got the kids from last year who were walk-ons, including Navi Bruzon, who, I mean, it's no secret how much I like him as that face of the Activate the Valley. Like, I feel like you've got your bases covered right now. I don't really have questions at quarterback. Like, sure, if Sam Levitt goes down to injury, what's ASU going to do? But that's just about every program in the country. You lose your starting quarterback more often than not. You're not going to have someone that can step in and be better than the guy in front of you. And for ASU, I don't think that that's one of their biggest concerns. And I don't think that that should be one of your biggest concerns is, can we get a super high-end backup to go behind Sam Levitt? I would be much more in tune with finding other pieces to build this roster around. I would continue searching for wide receivers. I would continue searching for more offensive linemen, some pass rushers, some defensive backs. I still want a second kicker to come in and push Jesus Gomez as the starter. I still want Nolan Krinsky, but that's a whole other conversation. There's other spots that I would rather you use your scholarships for. I don't know that I'm interested in a quarterback that's already been here. And I mean, if we can just be honest, he spurned the program. Like, he did not leave on good terms with the fans, at least. I can't speak on behalf of the players. I know that Kenny Dillingham was gassing him up the way that he gasses up all of his guys who enter the transfer portal. So it's not like Kenny had taken exception to what Rashada did. He still was, oh, it's a great kid, he's a great player, lots of upside. You'd be lucky to have him for your program. So he still has a good relationship with Kenny. Again, I can't speak on behalf of his former teammates. And at this point, not many of his former teammates are even still with the program now. It's a new roster because so many of those guys have graduated or entered the transfer portal. I just don't know that Rashada makes sense for ASU to bring back with all of that that's going on. And I want to add on to what I was saying about – sorry, I lost my train of thought. I want to add on to what I was saying about, like, I would much rather see ASU pursue other positions through the transfer portal as they continue to add to this roster and try to maintain the momentum they built this year, winning the Big 12 and going to the Peach Bowl and playing Texas into double overtime. I would think that your focus would be on keeping the momentum of the team by making it better instead of having a backup plan at quarterback. And again, I think you already have a backup plan. You've got a veteran in Jeff Sims, and you've got youngsters with Michael Tollefson and Navi Bruzon and a couple of other walk-ons that are on this team. There's guys here, and Cameron Dyer is also an option. The 4-star who's coming in who played, quarterback / wide receiver out in Albuquerque. And you hear that Hines Ward recruited him and they want him to be a wide receiver. And then Kenny Dillingham comes along and he says, well, no, I still want him competing with the quarterbacks and everything. And you can't blame Kenny for having this thought process of, hey, this kid is a really good quarterback. I would like to continue having him compete as a quarterback. But then you've just flat out got a talented football player who makes sense to move to receiver, especially knowing that that's what Hines Ward had recruited him to be, was a receiver. But nonetheless, the depth is there. You've got Sims, Tollefson, Navi. There was 3 walk-ons in total, I believe. So the other 2 guys, and then Cameron Dyer. You've got the options there. You've got the talent and all of that good stuff. You don't need to add Jaden Rashada to the mix. There's other holes. I would much rather have a second kicker than having Jaden Rashada on this team right now. And that's nothing to do with his personality. That's nothing to do with what he had done to the program previously. This is entirely based off of, I would rather have a second kicker here because I want someone who's going to compete and push the other guys on this team, Jesus Gomez, or if Ian Hershey returns or Carson Kiefer returns. Parker Lewis is gone. He's out of eligibility. And to this point, Hershey and Kiefer have not entered the portal. So I love that Gomez is coming back. And I would love to have another guy in there as well to continue pushing the guys in front of him, because kicking was such a weakness last year. You got a brand new receiving room this year. Jordan Tyson returns. And other than that, it's a lot of new faces. Malik McClain is here, but he had 2 catches all season, and both of them came in the postseason for ASU. One in the Big 12 championship game and one in the Peach Bowl. We don't really know what we got with him. You've got some youngsters, and you got some guys that are coming in through this upcoming recruiting cycle. They brought in, is it Jalen Hill? Jalen Moss. They brought in Jalen Moss from Fresno State. They brought in Noble Johnson from Clemson. So they're bringing in guys to come in, compete, and provide the depth at the receiver spot. But I'm not done at wide receiver personally. I want more guys to come in and to push the guys that are ahead of them and find a way to make a position that right now is a question mark stronger. Jaden Rashada doesn't do that for me. Like, unless Jaden Rashada were to commit to becoming a wide receiver, and it makes zero sense for a limitless amount of reasons, I just don't see why you would want Rashada in here. You've got more than enough quarterbacks. And even after 2025, Jake Fetty, the 4-star commit from Texas, is coming to your program next year to potentially be the future if and when Sam Levitt moves on. And you still have Tollefson, you still have Navi, and they're not done recruiting, and they're going to hit the transfer portal to bring in those veterans. So I just don't think that there's a huge necessity to bring Jaden Rashada here. And that's my biggest stance on it, is I just don't see this drastic, dire need to bring in Rashada to what's going on with the Sun Devils right now. There's just other places that I would much rather see ASU focus their attention on. That's kind of my 2 cents. Got a handful of comments here. BC says, go Sun Devils. What's going on, BC? Thanks for stopping in. Jill Steyer, I hope I said that right. Jill, thank you for tuning in. He had a chance, then got injured, and they played him against U of A, which was horrible. He just couldn't handle having to compete. And I don't know that I disagree with that, because as of right now, that seems to be the storyline here, is he comes to Arizona State as a true freshman in 2023 when there was nothing at quarterback. You had Trenton Bourguet was penciled in to be the starter. Was he the only returner from 2022? I think he was. Emory Jones had transferred. I don't remember anyone else, to be honest. So they had Trenton Bourguet, they had Jaden Rashada, Jacob Conover, and Drew Pine had all committed to the program as well. 3 transfers, 1 veteran, and then Rashada came in. So there was competition, sure, but it was a very easy path for Rashada to find himself a starting role with the Sun Devils. So he finds that role. He plays for a year. He only plays the 3 games. And then in exit interviews, Kenny Dillingham tells Trenton, and he tells, I almost said Sam Levitt. He tells Jaden Rashada, hey, we're bringing in competition. Drew Pine and Conover enter the transfer portal. Both of them, Jaden Rashada included, said, bring it on. I love competition. I want to compete. I want to win. I want to show you I'm the best. But then Rashada got beat out in spring ball, and then he entered the transfer portal. And that timing is not a coincidence to me. Sure, Rashad Samples, the wide receivers coach, had very recently taken a new position with Oregon as their running backs coach. So maybe that factored into it, but that's not your positional coach. That factored way more into Elijah Badger transferring than it did Jaden Rashada transferring. So yeah, Jill, I don't disagree with you. Right now, it definitely seems like Rashada doesn't want to compete, because then he goes to Georgia. He sits the whole year as quarterback 3. He might have been lower than that, because, again, Carson Beck started the whole year. But the moment he got injured, Gunnar Stockton was the backup. Not Jaden Rashada, not the former 5-star and 4-star transfer they brought in. Rashada flat out didn't see the field this year. And then he enters the portal again. So I don't know where the priorities lie with him. But I don't know that I disagree with you about competing. Like, I feel bad saying that, because, again, I don't know what's going on in the mind of this young man. I don't want to come to those conclusions, but I mean, if it looks like a duck, it walks like a duck, and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. Connor Shreve, I hope I didn't pronounce that wrong. Connor, how you doing? Says, bring DJ Foster back. I don't know where he is because I know that he had obviously started his coaching career with Arizona State as like not a graduate assistant, but just like a assistant coach in general. I don't know where he is. I guess I didn't even realize he left. Now I'm curious where he is. But if he's not at ASU, then yes, let's absolutely bring him back to ASU. I think that he is another pivotal point of having him be one of the faces of Activate the Valley, because he was a legend in his time at Saguaro High School, and he comes to Arizona State as a high 4-star kid, and he's an all-time Sun Devil. I mean, he's a terrific running back. And then in 2015, where they had the depth at running back because of Kalen Balaj and because of Demario Richard, he willingly moved to wide receiver. That's an all-time player. And then he sticks at the program and just does his thing. So according to his Wikipedia profile, he is still here in the role of manager of player development. So this will be his 3rd season that he has been with the coaching staff for ASU. And I say, let's keep him around, because this is a special face for ASU as someone who grew up with the Valley and everything. So let's keep him around. Chris Torres, what's going on, Chris? Was there noise he wants to come back? I haven't seen anything. If you're talking about Jaden Rashada, I haven't seen anything that really stands out to make that clear. But it's a really it's a really interesting, obscure kind of note that he would go to a football program. Or not a football program, a hockey game, excuse me. That he would go to a hockey game for his former school that he committed to. It's a oddly specific decision. And I mean, for what it's worth, his dad, Harlan, played at ASU, but I don't think I need to tell you guys my thoughts on Harlan Rashada. And I think it's very well documented how ASU fans in general feel about Harlan Rashada and the way that he used his Twitter account and made ASU out to seem like, I mean, at the time, it felt like he was making ASU out to be the bad guys. And I know I didn't appreciate the things that he was putting out there about Texas to Tempe is dead or whatever it was, paraphrasing there. I don't know that I want Harlan to have another big Twitter presence here. And I think at this point in time, I can't speak for Georgia fans. I would imagine that everyone has kind of had a taste of Harlan Rashada at this point in time, and a lot of people are kind of like, I don't know about that. He seems like he's got his own agendas in mind instead of caring about his. You know what? I'm gonna stop because I don't want to speak for him. So I'll go ahead and stop with that. I don't know. All I know is Harlan Rashada is not someone that I enjoy his Twitter presence. And I don't want to deal with that again if Jaden were to return. But back to the point of, is there noise that Rashada wants to come back? I don't know. What I do know is that is a oddly specific detail to be attending a hockey game for ASU while you were in the transfer portal looking for your options. I also don't know what his options look like. And I don't know what he is valuing at this point in time. Because if he wants to start, he's going to have to go to a lower end Power 4 school or the G5 level. Because there's a lot of quality quarterbacks right now in the nation. And with 3 games under his belt in 2 years at 2 different programs, that's not a lot for other coaches to go off of and be like, yeah, no, you can definitely be our starter here at X program. You would have to go to a lower level program that's rebuilding, or a lower, or maybe not even a lower level program, but a program that just flat out doesn't have a quarterback, or they're trying to fill the need of a veteran, if you would. Or you can go G5. And a lot of G5 programs would welcome a former 5-star, a former 4-star transfer quarterback to their program. There is intrinsic value that Jaden Rashada has. It's just, I don't know that it's something that ASU should value. And that's on my behalf that I'm casting out that opinion. I don't know that that's something that should have the attention of the Sun Devils. But I've been wrong many times before. Maybe they are interested in him, and maybe that's why he's visiting. Maybe he's visiting because someone reached out to him and said, hey, how do you feel about coming back to Arizona State? I don't know. That's one of the most fun things about this is we can have our own conversations and theories about all of this right now. And I don't have a sanctuary to look at from Chris Cartman or from Hode Rubino. I don't have subscriptions to those. So I'm as much in the dark as you guys are. I don't have any insider intel. I apologize for that. I just don't have those connections. But I think that's one of the fun things about this show is it'd be like if me and you were sitting down and having a conversation in person. Neither here nor there. Let's see what else is going on. Wasn't Frederick Gamage, that's a throwback name, a part of the coaching staff at ASU? I don't know, but that is now something that I am going to be looking up. Fred Gamage, what a throwback name. I know that's one of the names that I've seen, oh my goodness, Brad Denny throw around a lot. I know that they love talking about him, and Gary Chambers are two of the guys that I've seen them talk about a lot. Let's see. I don't see anything too specific right now for Gamage, and honestly, it's not going to be the easiest thing to find him, I would imagine. It's not like he was a high-profile guy that has his own Wikipedia page or anything like that. And it also doesn't help that my computer works at the speed of a dinosaur, so I'm at the mercy of that. He's got a profile for the 49ers. He's got his stats for ASU. I don't think I'm going to find anything here that talks about it. So we can try ASU football staff. Maybe that'll pull something up for us. But I do not know about Gamage. I know there's been a handful of former players that have joined, and obviously DJ Foster is one of the main faces, if not the main face of those former players that are joining. Now let's see. The website only has Jason Zverko and Brian McGinnis on their support staff, and then they just have the actual coaching staff. I don't see maybe a staff directory. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to find what we're hoping for. No, it's definitely not going to be the staff directory. Coaching staff from 2024. I feel like that's probably not going to be it. Yeah, I don't think that's going to be it either. He was director of player personnel for the 2018 season. I just saw it. Interesting. Okay, Connor. I did not know that, and I have not seen him anywhere. So I don't know if he's still around the program. I would assume not, but and that's also two different not front offices. It's two different regimes. So 2018 would have been the last year of Todd Graham, and then he would have been around for Herm Edwards and everything. I would assume he's probably not around anymore, but I just like the idea of having former players around, former alumni around. Look at where we're at right now. With Jaden Rashada, we'll wrap it up here because I know we've got NFL playoffs, and we got former ASU starting quarterback Jaden Daniels playing tonight for the Commanders. I will be hate watching that one. So I hope you guys are enjoying some NFL playoffs and some bad football games, honestly. I haven't seen the same people who were trashing the College Football Playoff Committee, trash the NFL playoffs. I'm waiting for them to keep up that energy. But we'll go ahead and wrap up. I will kind of give my closing thoughts with this. It doesn't make sense to me to bring in Jaden Rashada at this point in time. ASU has their quarterback position figured out with Sam Leavitt. He's their starting quarterback for at least 2025, and you could have him around as long as 2027. You've also got a veteran this year with Jeff Sims, so you don't need a veteran. You've already got someone who's been around college football for a long time, and Jeff Sims also has, I think he appeared in 3 games this year for the Sun Devils, one as a starter, and he saw time sparingly throughout the season. So Jeff Sims has seen just as much time with the Sun Devils as, oh my God, what's his name? As Jaden Rashada has. So you've got your veteran, and he got the young guys to compete too. Tollefson is here. Bruzon is here. And then for 2026, Jake Fetty is going to be coming in. And ASU will continue to be adding to the position and getting younger and whatnot. So it just doesn't make sense for me to have Jaden Rashada join the program, at least at this point in time, at least not for this year. And quite frankly, if he's in the portal again next offseason, I want nothing to do with him. I don't really want anything to do with him now because it just feels like a circus. It feels like a big distraction that's going on with Jaden Rashada and wherever he goes. And I don't think he's a bad kid. I do not think Jaden Rashada is a bad kid. I do not think he is a cancer or anything like that. But I do think that there is a lot of baggage that comes with this kid. And right now, Arizona State doesn't need to have that for their team. They're building right now. They're building for this upcoming year. And Jaden Rashada doesn't do anything for me this upcoming year. For what it's worth, I think if he did stay and be QB2 for Arizona State, that he would have not only started against Cincinnati, but I think we probably beat Cincinnati with Rashada as the backup, filling in for Levitt when he got injured. I also feel like we probably see Rashada push Levitt more than anybody else did. I don't think that Sims, Bourget, or anybody else in that quarterback room really pushed Levitt at all. And he didn't need the push, obviously. He was just fine without anyone breathing down his neck. But I think Rashada really would have shortened the leash for Levitt. And again, he didn't need it. He was great. But I don't know. He obviously wasn't here. So again, it just doesn't make any sense right now to bring in Jaden Rashada. To me, your bases are covered at quarterback for this year and potentially next year too. Because if Levitt were to declare, you've got Fetty coming in, and he's currently a 4-star quarterback. And like I said at the top of the show, I don't totally understand recruiting and how the points and the stars work, but he could be a 5-star by next year. He just had an insane season in the state of Texas this past season. If he does it again, he's only going to continue to improve his rating and everything. So we could see Fetty come into the program maybe even as a higher rated recruit than Jaden Rashada was. Bottom line, to reiterate for the last time, it doesn't make sense to me to bring in Jaden Rashada right now. They could. I wouldn't hate it because that is a very quality backup. I'm not big on it, I suppose. It is what it is. I'm curious what you guys think. So leave a comment. If you tune into this later, leave a comment. You can hit me up on Twitter at RichieBrats36. The podcast is at LO_Sun Devils. This episode is going to be uploaded wherever you get your shows. So first of all, it's still here on YouTube for you to replay. It's also going to be wherever you get your shows, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. So you can come back to this episode. And if you want to share it with someone who missed it, share it with someone who missed it. So we'll wrap it up there. I have no idea what's going on in the Packers-Eagles game. I know when I left off that it was a really interesting game because Goddard had mossed a ton of Packers players into the end zone, but then Josh Jacobs was a crone ass man and got himself inside the 1, and that's when I went live. So I'll be interested to see where they left off. And again, Jaden Daniels is playing tonight. I'm going to get a hate watch in. Hopefully you guys will as well. If you haven't hit the subscribe button where you get your shows, you should definitely do that. We'll be back tomorrow. I appreciate all of you guys for tuning in. Till next time, you keep it locked right here on Locked On Sun.